Let's do just another few minutes of standing. I know some people will come to this class and not have done the standing with us in the last class, so it's nice to just soften here for a moment. As I was mentioning in the last class, because this class emphasizes the release of the neck and the shoulders, we want to release any tension in the neck, the throat, sides of the neck, allowing the head to fall upward, to be released upward, which is to say that we're just not scrunching it down, but we're allowing it to be lengthened, like a turtle coming out of its shell. Shoulders release so that the arms fall along the sides of the body, middle finger falling on the center of the thigh, more or less. Your chest is softened. Your upper back is released so that the shoulder blades gently move away from the spine and then sink down the back rather than being pulled backward. The elbows sink, the wrists sink. Softening your hips, your glutes, your thighs, your lower legs, and your feet. Allowing the weight to fall through your body into the ground. And again, as I was mentioning in the last class as well, for those of you who haven't had the chance to watch that, because this class emphasizes the softening and the release of the neck and the shoulders, I recommend getting some kind of cream or oil. I'm using a liniment called Dingu Shui, which is pretty cheap and easy to find online. And you can easily apply some of it to the back of your neck, your shoulders, the space in your back where any tension may tend to accumulate. You can also apply hot pads, a bag of warm lentils or something that you threw in the microwave. Throwing it on your neck and shoulders can help this area to release and make it that much easier to practice. They also have these little chemically based ones that when you open them to the oxygen, they just warm up. And you stick them onto your neck and back and they will stay there during practice. And again, it might make it easier for these spaces to release if you are somebody that heat tends to help the relaxation process. And in the classes in the future, I'll bring out various items and things that you can try to help you release. Because everybody's so different. And we have people that are in the classes in the chat rooms that have a great deal of experience with various mechanical tools and attempts to release the neck and shoulders. And so hopefully, if you can share those as well now in the live class and in the future, then people can take part. Hands resting on the navel, making some small circles. Soften your hands, soften your wrists. Let go of any tension around your elbows, letting your elbows hang as your shoulders release. Softening your chest and your upper back. Softening your belly, releasing your breath. Both directions. letting your mind sink into your body as best you can. Letting your mind soak into that middle danxian space between your navel and your spine. We'll be coming back to this point consistently, this elixir field in the middle of the body. Let's let the arms fall. Again, on the side of the body, in a comfortable way so that your shoulders aren't rolled forward or not pulled back. And let's start by softening the side of the neck. One side and then the other. Just moving your ear toward your shoulder, but really the emphasis is not on the closing side, but rather on the lengthening side. One side lengthens open as though the crown of the head floats up, and then the other. Letting that opposite arm lengthen down as it pulls away and helps to open the top of the shoulder. And then a very similar movement, left and right, yin and yang, 左右阴阳. Allow the weight to pour down one half of the body. So one whole half of the body becomes heavy, the hand sinks, and then you allow that pouring to fill the other half of the body, which sinks and becomes heavy and full. And as one side becomes heavy, the other half of your body becomes light and easy and empty, free. One half sinks into the ground, the other half becomes light and open. And if I exaggerate the movement, it's kind of this swaying, except that the movement isn't really side to side, it's up and down. Goes through into the ground, release one whole side. This arm lengthens like warm taffy. The other is light and empty. Softening your shoulder, letting it go. And then if we were to combine these two movements, let your hands slide around to your lower back. One hand slides down, just like with the last movements, and the neck releases. One half of the body heavy, one half of the body light, opening the side of the neck, lengthening the spine, softening the ribs, releasing the neck and the shoulders. And then when you're ready, again closing. The hands float up and away, the elbows move away from the shoulders to lengthen outward. Bend the elbows, hands come in. Continue lengthening the elbows away from the shoulders, sinking down. Letting everything soften. Your awareness, again, sinks into the center of the body, beneath your palms at your navel. Just a few breaths of meditation on this space. And then when you're ready, we're going to begin moving our hips a little bit. Let's do a simplified version first. I'm going to tuck my pelvis underneath and then draw it back. So I'm just putting my hands here to make it easy to see the direction of the movement. My hips go under this way and that way. If I put my hands here, you can see my thumbs sink. Softening the lower back, the hips. And then the same thing side to side, letting one side of your pelvis lift, the other side to sink. Noticing that my upper body isn't really moving. It's the tilting of my pelvis. Like a person doing Spanish dance, there's this movement through the hips. And now if we combine those two movements to make a circle, circling all the way around. Keep your glutes soft, your lower back released, your shoulders and neck released. Your head is continuing to soften upward. Both directions. And then, instead of making a small circle that doesn't move, we're going to let the hips go all the way around, like your tailbone is drawing a circle around the perimeter of your feet. Your head still remains relatively stable, your neck continuing to lengthen upward, your shoulders continuing to lengthen out toward the elbows. If you'd like, you can let your hands rest beside your body. Both directions. And then, if it's comfortable for you, you can draw your feet closer together, as long as you feel relatively balanced. Keeping your shoulders soft, again, beside your body. Gentle circles of the neck and the upper spine. Let your upper thoracic spine move a little bit so that it's not just your neck bending and folding. Continuing to have this sense of length upward through your spine to the top of your head. Emphasizing the side of your neck that is opening, lengthening, rather than the half that is closing. Both directions. Starting as small as you like. The circle can be the size of a dime if your neck is particularly stiff. It's okay to make it as small as you need. And as usual, don't try to force your way through the circle. Don't press into any spot that feels especially tight. Don't try to force your neck to pop. All that does is reinforce patterns of tension and gripping. Instead, find your way through using gentleness or just move around it. Don't press into blockages. We learn to release the blockages, not fight them. looking down as though gazing into the space between your feet. As you're looking down, release the base of your neck, release the middle of your neck, and soften the top of your neck near the skull as best you can. And then very slowly rolling upward, back to center. And then again, closing, lengthening your arms and your shoulders outward, continuing to lengthen them as you soften your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your waist, allowing your awareness to settle in the body. Get a little more tea here. So let's try a bit of shoulder movement, shoulder rolling. So I'll turn sideways here. You can see what I mean. The black shirt doesn't help, but shoulder moves forward, shoulder moves up, shoulder moves back behind the body and sinks down. You notice my hand rotates as my shoulder and my shoulder blade rotate around. I'm going to place one foot in back, one foot in front. The front arm and leg will stay relatively stable in one place, and the back arm will roll around. Full comfortable circles. So that one shoulder is closing toward the stable side and then opening away from the stable side, which gets more movement through your chest and upper back. Comfortable circles at whatever speed feels good to you. And then the same in the opposite direction. For those of you that have been practicing Qigong with me for a while, remember those principles of creating movement through letting go. So my arm doesn't drop because I pull it down. My arm drops because I let go of what's holding it up, and my arm falls. My shoulder releases. Let's do it now. Changing feet, changing arms. The front arm and leg is the stable side. The rear side opens and closes in relationship to that side. Releasing the shoulder all the way around. So if I turn to the side, my arm drops because my shoulder lets go. The reason my arm falls forward is because I release the upper back, the rear of the shoulder, not because I pull it forward. Letting go, letting go. Both directions. The reason my shoulder falls back is not because I pull with the back, but because I let go in the front, so it falls back. So my shoulder falls down because I let go of the top. It falls forward of the back, and it falls back. This wave of softness around the shoulder creates the movement. Takes practice, works better than tension. Now let's try both shoulders at once. So my arms again hanging naturally at my sides. And I circle them forward and up, back and down. I release the back of my shoulder, going to soften the front of my shoulder, tops of my shoulders, allowing this circle all the way around. Even the ribs beneath the shoulder soften. Both directions. And then opposite circles. So one side sinks, one side lifts. One side goes forward, while one side goes back. From the side, it looks like this. The center of your body stays relatively stable. So you don't want to turn your whole body this way, but rather keep the center line stable and allow these connections of the shoulders to roll around, letting go, releasing. And just like with the earlier practice, the left and right, yin and yang, one side becomes light, one side becomes heavy, and they support each other in movement from one side to the other, both directions. And then let's try some rolling of the head. So my chin lifts a bit, extends forward, opening my throat, lengthening the back of my neck, sinking down toward my chest as far as is comfortable, and then rolling up. Make sure you don't compress your throat. You'll notice that my breath and my voice stay normal even when my chin touches my chest, because I'm continuing to lengthen my neck. If I was to close my neck and my throat, my voice would shrink because I'm compressing my throat. Don't do that. Continue this length, softening all the way around. And now, snake opening, softening the front and the back. I'm going to continue this movement with my head. I'm going to begin including the same kind of movement with my shoulders, like we were just practicing. And I'm going to let my whole spine soften and roll. Front of my body opens. The back of my body opens as I sink and round, especially emphasizing softening the lower back. Only as large as feels comfortable. Since I can't be there with you, please do caution against movements that cause more tension than they relieve. Be cautious. And then when you're ready, closing. Softening down. Again, your hands resting on your navel. See if you can allow your mind to become relatively quiet for just the length of a few breaths, just a few seconds. Sinking into your body. This is how you get your body and your mind to maintain these changes. You have to return to stillness so that your body-mind can integrate these new changes, or they tend to just evaporate. Wonderful. This here. So the next one, we're going to release our neck in a few different directions, but we're going to start by looking over our shoulder. But rather than looking left and right, just like this, we're going to do a modified version of looking left and right. Instead, we're going to allow our head to travel in an arc, as though our eyes are looking up and then down in the direction of the ground or your opposite heel, that kind of shape. But you're just moving your head up, back, and in the direction of looking down. But of course, you don't have to twist that far. That's just the direction. And then you let go of that movement, come back to center. The other side, gently looking up, and then moving down, and softening back to center. Allowing your chin to lift a little bit before it sinks, looking back and down, releasing to the center. In the opposite side of your opening, if I'm looking to my right, my left palm turns forward, but really both palms can turn forward, but you want to emphasize softening open the front of the shoulder. That space here stays stable and you open away from this place. So in the way that we were keeping one side stable during those shoulder rolls and opening away from that place, the stable place is this shoulder. And then I look away from it, up, over, softening that area open, releasing my neck, the front of my shoulder, and then coming back to center. I'm just doing 9 of these. Most of them I'm doing 9 on both sides or both directions. You can always do more or less depending on what your body likes. You can often spend more time on the side that's more stuck if you find that helpful. But you want to make sure that you keep a relative balance of movements through your body. Wonderful. So in the last one we were looking, there was an arc that went over the top and down. This time we'll look down and then arc looking back and upward. So we're going to let our head look down toward the ground and then up and behind, and then releasing back to center. Looking down toward the ground, up, releasing back down. So you just have this arc of your eyes and the movement of your head, making this gentle arcing release as though you're looking up at the mountain behind you. Even if it's just a mountain of laundry. Stay soft and easy. One more time on either side. Closing. Settling your neck, your shoulders, your upper back, your chest, your waist, your lower back, your hips. Softening all the way through. Your awareness sinking inside. Even if you find it nearly impossible to keep your mind settled for a moment, just for 1 second, noticing that you're distracted, let your mind come back, feeling your body, and then it's fine if it zips away again. At least you returned one time. And every time we close, there's a moment of returning, so that by the end of the set, you've returned dozens of times. That's good practice. So this next one, called grasping the mountain, grasping the pillar. And so your hands behind your head, if you like, you can interlace your fingers, but you don't have to. And you're going to lengthen your head up and back, lengthening your spine. Don't push your head backward. Instead, let it come back as your head lengthens upward into your hands. And then as your elbows come back, don't pull your elbows back. Instead, emphasize letting your elbows go away. If I was to pull on your elbows to the side so that they went outward, lengthening your shoulder this way, that's the direction of that movement. So the elbows go away from the spine, and then your head lengthens upward into your hands. Your elbows draw back into the sides, pushing into your head. Your head lengthens upward, pushing into your hands. And we'll just do this one a few times because it tends to make people feel sore. And then letting go, hands facing forward, softening your shoulders and your neck, your elbows, your hands, falling back to your sides. Just letting your head and neck lengthen for a moment. So again, coming back up, hands behind your head, slightly different movement. And later classes will do slightly more numbers of these, but I don't want people to have a sore neck after this. Use your hands and push your head so that you look to the left. So I'm pushing the back of my head with my hands to my right, which turns my face to the left. And then I'll use my hand to push against the back of my head to turn my head the other direction. So I'm turning my head left and right by using my hands, keeping my shoulders relatively soft. You're not trying to push against your head or use the musculature there. Just stay soft. And then let your head drop and then lift up, looking upward, gently feeling your hands pressing against the back of your head, just to use the muscles slightly in this area. We'll just do 3. And then again, letting your hands turn palm forward, softening down shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your fingers. Just pause for a moment, letting your arms lengthen. Crown of your head release upward. Don't do too many of these in the beginning because it might make your neck and shoulders sore and tight. We are challenging the musculature there, the postural muscles slightly. So you might feel slightly sore, and that's okay. But don't push so much that your body tightens up or feels traumatized. That's not helpful. But we do want to strengthen this area that's often just collapsed. And then one more like this. This time we're going to place the hands on the top of the head. And very gently, as the hands sink down and you soften your shoulders, just the weight of your arms pressing to the top of your head, feel your neck lengthen. It's as though your head pushes into your hands upward. But don't use force. Just feel your neck naturally pushing up into your hands. And then very gently extend your hands upward, palms up, shoulders soft, lengthening your neck, lengthening your whole spine. And then the hands sink down, resting on the top of the head. Feel the neck release upward, pushing into the hands. And then again, palms up, pressing upward, shoulders soft. One more time. Just the weight of the arms falling, top of the head, letting the neck release upward into the hands. Pressing upward. And then as you fall outward, palms forward, softening your neck, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists. Letting everything fall long. And then I'll get a bit closer for this one. This is one that, depending on your culture, some people find really easy, some people find it more difficult. But you want to allow your head to stay vertical, to stay in line with your shoulders, and you're going to let it move sideways. Remaining vertical, center, sideways. Not sure if that comes out very easily on camera. Don't lean your head, don't tilt it, don't lift your shoulder. Just let your head move side to side as best you can. Softening open one side, softening open the other, releasing beneath the scapula, releasing beneath the collarbone. All of this attachment back and through here. One more time. Wonderful. Like a K-pop dancer. And then let's, in the way that if I was working on my wrist, I might shake my hands out. What we're going to do is do that with our neck and spine. So imagine that the neck and shoulders shake a little bit, and then allow that rippling shake to travel down to your feet and your hands. So it goes downward, as if someone was to grab you by the head and shake you a little bit. Gently. Just trying to shake out any kinks that may have developed from all of that work we were doing. Wind shaking the willow. Then closing. Release your elbows away from your shoulders. Soften your neck, soften your chest. Remember that in this position, you don't want your shoulders to fall forward or draw back. Your elbows are lengthening along the side of your body. Your hands soft. So another very useful movement is turn your hand inward so that the little finger rests against your body, more or less. And as the little finger is in front of your face, you have one hand palm down at your navel. And then very gently allow your other hand to turn palm up, push up, in line with the top of your head. The other hand sinks down, lengthening your spine. Release your lower hand. Upper hand turns palm down, and you soften wrist, elbow, shoulder, neck, upper spine, middle of the back, lower back, hips, knees, feet, letting your hand melt to the side. And then same thing in the opposite side. Little finger touching your body along the midline. Turning around, palm facing up. Moving away from each other. Crown of the head floats up, tailbone sinks down, lengthening your body, softening your spine. Lower hand releases, upper hand sinks down through the center line. We won't do too many of these, it's just a useful reference for the next one. One hand floats up. Moving away from each other, shoulders stay soft. A wave of relaxation traveling down through your body. Wait until it reaches your feet. Your hand softens to your side. One more. Shoulder blade sinks down your back. Make sure that this stays open. The other hand sinks down, lengthening your whole spine. The energy moving up and down. And then letting go. Softening down through your body, one part at a time. Hips, your knees, your feet. And then let your arm melt to your sides. So that's a very useful movement. We incorporate that into this snake and turtle movement called the black snake. And we combine some of the last neck and shoulder movements that we were doing. So all of those were in preparation for this particular movement. You'll recognize some of them. So we're going to let one hand, I'll use my left hand here, soften against my lower back as best you can. Make sure that you're not leaning back or arching your back or tightening your shoulder to get your hand back there. If you can touch your lower back, let it do it. It doesn't matter what shape it's in. This is going to remind you to soften your lower back, and it also helps your shoulder blade to sink down a bit. Opens this position. The other hand floats up, lengthening away from your shoulder, continuing to lengthen. Again, touching the back of your head or even your opposite ear if you'd like. Using this hand to turn the head like we did before. Looking behind you, looking back and down, and looking up and back, just like we did before. And then releasing forward. The lower hand softens down, the upper hand pushes up, and then again, soften your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your neck, your chest, your waist, your belly, your thighs, your knees, your feet, your toes, melting down. So a combination of the last few practices that we did all together. One hand softens against your lower back, the other one lengthens all the way around. Continue lengthening without lifting your shoulder, turning your head, looking back behind, up and back, down and back, softening your spine without twisting your knees, without holding your breath, pressing up. And then again, wrist, elbow, shoulder, upper spine, middle spine, lower back, tailbone, hips, knees, feet, softening down. Lengthening away. One side then the other. 3 twists. One that looks back behind you, one that looks up and back gently, and then down and back, just like we practiced before. Don't twist your hips or your knees. I'll face this way. Let's do one more on either side, whichever one you needed to change to next. You don't have to follow me directly. Continuing to breathe normally. Wrist, elbow, shoulder softens. Your neck, release your ribs. Soften your breath in your abdomen. Release the weight down through your legs into the ground. Closing. Sinking down. Continuing to allow your awareness to settle. Just a few breaths of meditation. Coming back, even if only for a moment. Too much talking today. And then when you're ready, one movement that's very useful for the shoulders in particular. If I was to imagine that I'm maybe bouncing a basketball or something in front of me, and I let my hands push down toward the ground and soften back. And they come up and they push down toward the ground. So if they're up in front of me, my shoulder blades sink down the back. Don't lift your shoulders. And then push down, and then you let them fall back. Emphasizing the downward motion, releasing your shoulders, releasing your wrists. If you're somebody who has a lot of arthritic or wrist pain, maybe carpal tunnel, this can often be very helpful, but you want to be gentle because this will increase circulation greatly, and sometimes that can be painful if there's already inflammation occurring. So please be gentle. Shoulders are soft, your neck continues to release your head upward. Falling, letting go. And then this next movement, it's like a great bird opening its wings. So you can start with your one foot in front, and then your hands will cross in the front of your body. Move up to the level of the chest, opening over the top. Your elbows go a little higher than your shoulders, and then your elbows sink down by releasing your shoulder blades down your back. Your chest opens gently, and then you come back to where you were, over the top, hands crossed, letting go. So again, up in the front, hands crossed, opening a little higher than the shoulders to the sides, just to give your shoulder blades an excuse to go, and then again down the front. Your weight's pouring between the front and the back leg. So from the side, up, over, sinking down. Notice that my hands are in front of my body. They're not behind my body. My elbows are in front of my body. I'm not leaning back. You're just standing here. Shoulder blades go, and then you soften again. Opening, closing. Opening, closing. I like to let my arms swing for a moment to be free and to make sure that I'm letting go of my hands and my wrists and my shoulders. This is all about your shoulder blades sinking, your chest opens, your chest settles, gentle closing of your chest, chest opening, shoulder blades sink. Let's do the same thing on the opposite side. Shoulder blades settling. Don't lean back. Don't move your arms behind your back. Just release your shoulders. Remember that if all of this seems new to you, I have a lot of videos that teach this snake and turtle Qigong set, not emphasizing neck and shoulders, but a lot of these movements are taught in those places. And so if this feels like a lot, it's worth going back to those videos and reviewing. Closing. Coming back to the present moment, even if only for a second or two. It does have value. And if you can let your awareness sink into your body, Chinese medicine and internal practices show that where you place your awareness in your body makes a difference. So feeling that space beneath your hands, behind the navel, or even just the navel, the belly button itself, that has value. And then when you're ready, we're going to, I'll get a bit closer here. My thumb side, this called the tiger's mouth, will touch my chest, will sink down my body, and as it does, the shoulder blade will sink down the back and the palm will slowly turn forward. And then again, the shoulder blade sinks down the back, shoulder stays open, tiger's mouth again touching the body, sinking down, palm forward. So in both directions, the shoulder blade softens open down the back. As the hand sinks, the shoulder blade stays in the back. You don't want to do this. Up and down. Chest lifts gently, chest sinks. This comfortable sense of spiral. Your elbow comes up a little bit higher than your shoulder if possible, but don't allow your shoulder to lift. Your shoulder blade sinks. So only come as high as you can with your shoulder remaining open. Both sides. Allowing this sense of the center of gravity, your body weight releases down through your body, settles through your legs into the ground. As your hand sinks, your belly fills. Keep it soft. Letting everything fall. Shoulder blade sinks, shoulder blade sinks. Crown of the head continues to lift. And now, a movement we can call hugging the tree. And this again is about letting your shoulder blades sink down the back, just like we were practicing before. So if you were to open your hands as though you're opening your chest, and then as though you embrace a large tree in front of you. So you're creating a round space here. Opening your upper back without closing your chest. So your elbows continue to lengthen away from your shoulders. Palms gently turning out away from you. And then your palms push forward. Sliding around your elbows, lifting a little bit higher than your shoulders again, so that as your shoulders reach this position of being open, your palms turn forward, your shoulder blades sink down your back, letting your arms fall all the way back down to this standing posture position that we were in before. Softening your shoulders, and then again. Opening your back, embracing the tree. Pressing your palms forward, lengthening open. Continue allowing your elbows to move away from your shoulders, elbows higher than your shoulders, and then soften your shoulder blades down your back, palms turn forward, letting your arms fall. Open your chest, open your back. Just as with that great bird opening its wings movement that we did, don't let your elbows come behind your back. Don't lean back. You're just standing normally. And as you draw forward, your shoulders naturally sink down your back. Your lower back opens. It does not go this way, it goes this way as your shoulder blades sink down your back. Pushing forward, lengthening outward as though your hands are lengthening away from your shoulders. Your shoulder blades sink, your lower back opens, your tailbone drops gently, softening down. Shoulder blades sinking. Lower back opens, tailbone releases, releasing down. Closing. Feeling that space beneath your hands. So this movement shape that we were just creating here, that allows your hands to fall down in this appropriate position, this is a wonderful practice to do just before you start that basic standing posture. The class immediately before this one is a standing posture series, and we stand in this position for quite a while. And to keep your arms from being collapsed forward or drawn back too much, this is a wonderful practice just to do anytime you start to feel your arms falling out of position, as your arms naturally fall into this comfortable open shape. And so it's a great practice to hang on to even just before you do a basic standing position. And so now a movement from snake and turtle, the white snake sticking out its tongue, is a combination of these last few movements that we've been working with. This settling, this letting your arm move out. And so if I was to let one hand move in front of me and lift, and the other one, my shoulder blade sinks, my shoulder blade sinks, my chest lifts, my chest falls. My hand falls just in the way that we are practicing this one. At the same time, the other hand is doing this movement. And so if I combine the two, one side lifts, one side lifts, one side lifts. Your shoulder blades continually sinking down your back, your weight pouring forward and back. Your chest opening and sinking. Your neck is remaining soft and long. You can change your feet. Closing when you're done. Continuing to lengthen your elbows away from your shoulders soften away from your neck, top of your head, lengthening away from the base of your neck. So all of this is decompressing all the time. So then, we're going to begin drawing circles. Our hands staying more or less in front of our body here. Our elbows lifting high, which allows our shoulder blades to release. Circling all the way around, opening our chest, closing our chest. Both directions. We call this Emperor's Circles, short for Emperor Penguin, which is not really its name, but that's how I think of it. And then letting go. One hand, moving up towards your face, leading with the fingertips down the side of your body, turning your waist away slightly, your hand following along the side of your body. Again, your palm gently turning up toward you and down, leading with your fingertips. I'm just going to keep my other arm out of the way for a moment. And then changing sides. Same thing on the other side. So it's as though the back of your hand brushes down the side of your body. As you do this, Release your shoulder. Lengthen through your fingertips all the way around. And as your hand comes toward your body, continue softening your shoulder so that it's not bunching up and getting in the way. Find a way through that does not allow your shoulder to come up toward your ear. Instead, the shoulder stays comfortable, relatively still. It's just rotating, making room. And now we're going to do both arms at once. If this feels confusing at first, don't worry. It does get much easier. Just keep practicing. Lengthening, softening long. One more on both sides. And then we're going to let one hand slide beneath the other. Both palms turn up. One hand slides beneath the other, palms down, both palms up. Shoulders are soft. Closing, opening. Again, I know that these can be confusing at first. Don't worry about it. Just keep your shoulders soft. Lead the movement with your hands. This is flower hiding beneath the leaf. So now I'm going to change sides. The other hand slides around beneath. Shoulders soft, open. Continue a sense of length as you release. Soften down. So now let's combine these last few movements into the golden snake winding around the tree. Slightly wider stance. If you'd like to mirror me, I'm going to use my left hand. You can copy me with your right, depending on how your computer screen is set up. Come across your body. Opening. Over the top of the head, sinking down toward the opposite knee. Across the body, out to the side, circling around. And again, if these feel confusing, I have lots of videos describing these movements on the channel, so you don't have to try to memorize it now. Just keep your shoulders soft. Make some circles. Should feel good. The other side. Hand palm up in the comfortable angle here to your side. And then as we come back to that position, the palm will be up, but in the odd angle. And then we circle around the body. As we return to that position, this time the hand is up in the comfortable angle. Circling around, tracing a path from your navel to your spine. The hand returns to that position in the uncomfortable position, the odd angle, palm up, circling over your head, returning to that position in the comfortable position. So each time we return to the spot, we're changing which direction our palm is facing, or at least the way that we're getting to that position. Make sure that your neck continues to lengthen. Your shoulders continue to soften, to be effortless, very quiet. Since that's the focus of this class. You also want to use your waist if you know how. Allow the weight to pour from one side to the other. You're closing to one side of the body, opening away from that side. Make sure your breath is comfortable. One more time on either side. Lengthening your hand away from your shoulder. Closing and settling. Again, allowing your awareness to soak into that space between the navel and the spine. Let's let our hands open and close a bit. They cross in front of the body, open, palms turning forward, palms turning back. Not because you turn your wrists, but because you let your shoulder open in the front, shoulder blade soften in the back, your chest lifting and sinking. Make sure that your hips are back far enough. If your hips are forward, there's no place for your hands to go. If you soften your hips back into the appropriate position, now there's a space for your arms to move through. And now, as we circle, let your hands continue around the circle, up, around the outside and down, letting them fall. Again, shoulder blades stay soft. Don't let your shoulders creep up toward your ears. Letting go, even at this position, your arms are falling away. Opening the heavens, closing the earth. And then a few of the opposite direction. Your arms lift up the sides, come toward the center, without letting your shoulders roll forward. Let your shoulder blades sink down the back, palms turn inward, elbows sink down the midline. Kind of like you're squeezing them toward the center a little bit, but without tension. Falling up the outside, your shoulders are soft. Elbows draw in, shoulder blades sink down the back, sink your chest. Don't let your shoulders roll forward. One more. Closing. So only a few more. Let's do this circle. Before we made a circle going over the top, this time we'll do the opposite version. Chin gently sinks toward the chest and down, forward, up around the outside, and then again, sinking down toward the chest. A wave of softness traveling down through the body. As usual, keep your neck long so that you're not compressing your throat on the way down. There's a soft movement. Notice how your movement can easily combine with your breath. Comfortable, gentle. And now we'll combine that with the next movement. If you were to let your hips travel back behind you. So if there was a door or a cabinet behind you that you wanted to close and you pushed your hips back into it, continuing to allow your back to be straight, your neck to be long. For most people, maybe they can go that far. If you are more flexible, you can sink all the way down to the midway point. And then very gently soften your back. Allow your head to droop. Your spine lengthens. And then, as with that last movement, again, leading with your nose, traveling up, over the top, and softening down. If you find at this point that you feel a little bit lightheaded, maybe your blood pressure or even your blood sugar is not quite stable, then just pause for a moment until that feeling dissipates. And then again, with your natural breath, your hips travel back behind you, your spine stays long, your legs are soft, and then at the bottom you release your spine, release your neck, rounding like a turtle shell, and then leading with your nose. Traveling up, opening the front of your body, a wave of opening, traveling down to your feet, and then continuing over the top, back into a neutral position. Move at the speed that feels comfortable for you, and only as far into the movement as feels comfortable to you. If you go too far, you may end up actually creating more tension than you're alleviating. So please be gentle. There's no award for going deeper. Folding at the hips. This place traveling back, lengthening your spine. And then as though you lead with the nose, the movement coming through the legs, opening the front of your body, and then softening down. 2 more. Make sure that your breath stays comfortable and stable. Closing when you're finished. And then when you're ready, settling your shoulders, staying nice and soft. Hands floating up. palms pressing upward as though you're pushing up against the sky. The crown of the head lifts, your whole spine lengthens, softening your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, and then as though you pull down the sky through you, you soften your neck, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your upper body, your lower body, your hips open, softening down. And then as though you're gathering up the earth with your hands, again, softening your wrists, your shoulders, your elbows, just be free. Gathering up as though you're pulling plants in the garden, softening through, letting go. Keep your shoulder blades sinking down, your shoulders are soft, your neck is long, your whole spine lengthens. As your elbows lift, don't lift your shoulders. Lengthen your spine. Softening, releasing all the way through your body. So by the time your hands are at your waist, your whole upper body has released as best you can. And then softening your hips, your thighs, your knees, your feet, your toes. Gathering up the earth. It flows up through your legs, to your lower back, forward into the center. Shoulders stay soft. Let's do it one more time. Leading with the crown of your head on the way up, not with your back. Let's do closing. Sinking down, settling in that space between the navel and the spine. And then letting your arms hang. Make sure that your feet are at a comfortable distance. A gentle flex in your hips, just like with standing posture. Keep your hips facing forward. Let your hands swing around to your sides, touching your body. Turn your navel without turning your hips. Turn your waist. Don't turn your hips. Let your elbows fall free of your shoulders so that your shoulders are hanging. In the center, the crown of your head is floating up. If you like, one hand gently striking the top of your shoulder, the other hand hitting the outside of your glute. Gallbladder 21 on the top, gallbladder 30 on the bottom. Continuing to keep your shoulders soft. Don't lift your shoulders to make it happen. Don't tighten your elbows, don't tighten your hands. Turning your waist, not your hips. Very slowly releasing the movement. And then continuing that if you'd like. Very gently striking the body with your palms, if you'd like. Just the front of the shoulder, top of the shoulder, if you're able to reach it, the back of the shoulder. You're not trying to hit so hard that you're dispersing. You're hitting just enough to encourage a fullness response from the inside. And you don't want to do this if you're too exhausted, because there won't be enough chi to respond. All the way around the arm, just gentle, encouraging movement and fullness, not striking your body trying to disperse anything. That's a different kind of practice. Filling and opening, restoring these channels that we may have been opening. If they've opened because of practice, we want to help them fill. And so if you strike them too hard, you'll just disperse them more. That's not what we're doing here. Instead, you're encouraging the body to fill that space. So it's almost like the return direction is the most important direction here. Brushing down the outside and back of the legs. Up the outside, down the inside, gently brushing from the hands to the shoulder and back again, encouraging circulation and movement, free flow. Let's try a little bit of golden rooster shaking its feathers. As your knees come forward and back, and your hips flex gently, just as though you're marching. At first large enough so that your joints feel free and are moving. And then a slightly smaller movement, a little bit faster, just medium speed, enough to shake the muscles, shake the glutes. And then without adding tension, just vibrate as fast as you can. A small movement. If it feels like it's tightening you up, stop doing it. You're just letting it shake a different layer of the body. You can do the same thing with in and out, if that's comfortable on your knees. As though you have a towel across your hips, turning your hips like the twist dance. Shaking your hips, first large, then medium, letting your belly shake, your glutes, and then small, but enough to be soft. You're not trying to add tension here. Don't hold your breath. Then use that same hip motion to shake your shoulders. Let your shoulder blades move around. Large and slow at first. If this is uncomfortable around breast tissue, of course, be very gentle. From large to medium to small. And then you can shake your hands out as well. Make sure your shoulders stay soft. And then with your whole body, closing. Always letting your chi return to the center, especially if it's late at night for you when you practice this, or just before bedtime in any way. Spend more time here rather than shaking. If it's the beginning of the day for you, you can shake and then just leave yourself open that way. Thank you very much. So these classes will be 90 minutes long, more or less. This one was exactly 90 minutes. The standing and seated meditation practice that's coming beforehand, that's 1 hour long for those who'd like to join. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. So we'll be here every day. I'm going to try to make it at this same time every day. But of course, the times will be flexible because my schedule is a little bit flexible at the moment. So for those of you who are going to keep joining me, send me your information and I will send you an email whenever I change the times around a bit. So if I'm not here when you show up, that's the reason why it's maybe earlier in the day or later in the day. But I'll try to give as much warning as possible as we move through this 100-day series. And of course, they're all going to be available on Patreon. And then once I have the whole collection, I'll make it public for everybody. Suzanne, thank you for coming. Always nice to have you here. Enjoy your practice.